We have an obligation to love.
Donnie McClurkin has been a towering figure in the gospel music scene for decades, but behind the music lies a story that's been shrouded in secrecy. Now, at 65, Donnie is finally speaking out about the rumors that have followed him for years, and what he's revealed has left fans shocked. So, what's the truth that Donnie McClurkin has kept hidden for so long? Let's dive in. Born in South Carolina, Donnie McClurkin's early life was full of trauma, with a family history of pain and betrayal that would leave scars lasting for years. But it wasn't just the violence and grief that shaped his early years, it was the toxic relationships and heartbreaks that would follow him into adulthood. Donnie was raised in a family where dysfunction seemed to be a constant companion. His father was absent and his mother struggled to provide the emotional support Donnie needed. The lack of stability at home would have a profound effect on his development, creating a foundation of unresolved pain. Donnie's childhood was pretty rough, not just because he was neglected, but also because he faced some really tough losses. He lost a close family member, which hit him hard and made him feel super alone. In interviews, he's talked about how that grief pushed him into a dark place where he felt stuck. On top of that, he didn't get much support from the people who were supposed to be there for him. Without any positive role models around, it just made him feel even worse about himself, like he couldn't see any way out. But it wasn't just about the losses, there was this heavy emotional weight he carried from a young age. It wasn't just about losing people, it was about feeling like he didn't fit in anywhere. Donnie was always a sensitive guy, and growing up in such a painful environment only made those feelings stronger. He wasn't just battling outside forces, he was also struggling with who he was. The emotional toll from those early years stuck with him, no matter how successful he got later on.
In thoughtlessness and because of politics, a man would stand up and broad brush an entire culture of people because of failure to vote in accordance to what he says is right. And if you listen to the whole clip, it nullifies our Christianity because he goes on to say, you can't be a Christian and vote that way. My problem with that arrogant statement is that you didn't shed any blood to qualify or disqualify a man's Christianity.
As a kid, Donnie went through some unimaginable stuff, losing his brother, feeling betrayed by family, and hearing hurtful things from his mom that messed with his self-esteem. All of that left him feeling abandoned and unloved, but there was one place where he found some peace: church. It became his safe haven, a spot where he could escape the chaos of his life and find some calm. Through gospel music, Donnie discovered a sense of purpose and a way to connect with something greater than himself. At church, he found a community and a sense of belonging that was missing at home. That's where his musical talents started to shine, and through music, he could finally express all those emotions he had kept bottled up. But even though church was a comfort, Donnie's journey of faith wasn't all smooth sailing. His tough upbringing and the emotional scars from his family made it hard for him to fully embrace the love and grace he was supposed to find in his faith. Music became Donnie's escape, and his faith was the rock that kept him going. It was his way of communicating, and gospel music was how he expressed himself. As he got older, his musical gifts really took off, and his faith played a huge role in his success. But even though he was living the dream in the gospel music scene, inside he was still struggling. His issues with identity and self-worth were always there, and no amount of fame could wipe away the pain from his past. He felt torn between his faith and his desires. For years, he kept his under wraps, unsure of how to reconcile it with his religious belief. He was really conflicted, thinking his feelings were wrong and couldn't fit with his public image as a gospel singer. This wasn't just a phase, it was a constant battle that weighed heavily on him, affecting his mental health and relationships. In a groundbreaking moment, Donnie finally opened up about what he had been hiding for so long.
And I'm dealing with people who are saying, well, no, it's a new day. It's a new day. It's a new day. And this one fell, and this one messed up, and this one fell, and this one's in homosexuality is right. It's just broken people. I can't condemn Tone. I got to love Tone, but I got to tell him the truth. This is not the will of God. And you got to tell your children, you can't be afraid to talk about him on these platforms. These platforms are not just about Moses on the mountain. No, 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 no. We got to deal with the real deal. And we got to tell our children, no, no, baby, that's a broken person. That's not the real way. There's a way that seems right to a man.
So there's been a lot of discussion about Donnie's sexuality for years, and it all came to a head when he finally said, "My past relationships were a sprinkling of everything, men and women." This was especially surprising since he's been super vocal against sexuality throughout his career. For ages, Donnie was known for bashing same-sex relationships in his sermons and public talks, so this confession really threw people for a loop. It was a big moment for him, forcing Donnie to face his past like never before. For the first time, he let everyone in on the struggle he'd been dealing with for decades. By owning up to both sides of his he showed that his life wasn't as simple as everyone thought. But how did folks react? Were they all about it, or did they feel let down by the guy they thought they knew? The gospel community was pretty split. A lot of fans, especially those who looked up to Donnie for his strong moral views, felt torn. Some saw his honesty as a brave move, while others were disappointed, feeling it contradicted his past preaching. Reactions were all over the place. A person commented saying, "I respect Donnie for telling the truth, even though it must have been hard. No one's perfect and we all have battles." Another one wrote, "This man preached against what he was struggling with the whole time. It feels like a betrayal. How are we supposed to trust leaders who hide behind the pulpit?" Donnie's confession sent shockwaves through the gospel scene and among his fans. Some were supportive, offering encouragement and forgiveness, while others were pretty critical, especially given his history of condemning homosexuality. He had previously compared same-sex attraction to addiction and claimed it was a choice that could be overcome with faith. So his public confession made it tough for some to reconcile his past comments with his current truth. Those earlier statements really stuck with people and made it hard for them to wrap their heads around Donnie's confession. How could someone who preached so passionately against homosexuality now admit to having feelings for both men and women? The clash between his past words and his present reality was hard to ignore, leaving many fans confused about where he really stood. Even with all the backlash, Donnie's personal journey kept going. Was he able to find peace within himself, or was he still haunted by public opinion and his own struggles? Despite the criticism, he felt a sense of relief after coming out with his truth, even if it was tough. But the emotional toll was clear. The church, his fans, and even his family were all trying to process this new reality, and for Donnie, finding acceptance in his faith community was going to be a long road.
I walked and I tried to find myself through other men in the church.
Despite all his success, Donnie admitted he's never really had a long-term relationship. His confession about possibly being alone forever really hit home for fans who felt his pain and confusion. He has always been a bit of a mystery, pouring his heart into his music and ministry, but when the spotlight faded, he was left alone with his thoughts. His personal life was filled with unfulfilled relationships, and the fear of loneliness was something he just couldn't shake. In interviews, Donnie has shared how tough it's been for him to connect with others on a deeper level, but his emotional scars and complicated feelings about his made it hard for him to trust people and build lasting relationships. Even with all his public success, he often felt isolated, craving the companionship and intimacy he thought he'd never find. Through everything, Donnie kept pouring his heart into his music, becoming a gospel icon with his hits. His career took off, but it was always overshadowed by his internal battles. He became known not just for his powerful voice, but for being real and sharing his personal pain through his music. His songs became a way to express emotions he couldn't always share in his personal life. But even as he kept dropping chart-topping hits and enjoying a successful career, the question remained, could he truly reconcile his personal identity with his public persona? Could he continue to be a symbol of faith and strength while carrying the weight of his past struggles? That was something he'd have to figure out for himself, no matter how the public reacted.
I was in the church, but nobody was there to hear me, and nobody knew, because the boy was talented, and the boy could play, and the boy could sing, so he can't have any problems, but the boy was broken, because somebody broke him. Sing, Donnie. Play, Donnie. Come to the service, Donnie. But nobody looked into Donnie and saw that broken seed of broken soul. Nobody said, Donnie, you're clapping wrong. Nobody said, Donnie, you're walking wrong. Nobody told Donnie. Nobody loved Donnie enough to say, hey, come here, boy. And now, come Monday, I will be 50. And my job is to turn back around and tell the young people I am now an elder.
Donnie's faith has always been a big part of his life, even when he was figuring out who he really is. During his public confession and the tough times that followed, he was super open about how his relationship with God helped him keep going. No matter the challenges and confusion he faced, his faith was like a solid rock that helped him move forward. He often said that believing in God gave him the guts to face his past, own up to his struggles, and work towards healing. Even when he felt really alone and rejected, Donnie found comfort in his spiritual practices. He knew his journey was rough, but faith was a tool that got him through the darkest moments. For him, connecting with God wasn't just about being saved, it was about surviving. His faith brought him peace in the chaos of his life. It wasn't a magic solution to his problems, but it was always there, helping him find strength, clarity, and the motivation to keep going. But Donnie's story is more than just about him. His experiences have sparked a bigger conversation about how the church treats LGBTQ folks and the struggle between faith and identity. For a long time, Donnie's public views on homosexuality matched traditional Christian beliefs, putting him in a conservative camp, but his revelation made a lot of people rethink the strict lines that have been drawn around faith and identity. By being open about his own struggles with Donnie has given the church a chance to rethink how it treats LGBTQ individuals. His story challenges the idea that you can't mix faith with your identity. While his confession stirred up some controversy, it also got people talking about compassion, understanding, and acceptance in the church. He's shown that you can be super spiritual and still deal with the complexities of being human. His honesty has opened doors for others in the church who might feel stuck in shame or fear, giving them hope. Today, Donnie McClurkin's music still hits home for millions, but his personal story adds a whole new layer to his legacy. As a pastor, musician, and public figure, Donnie's journey reminds us that even the most celebrated people have their own struggles. His gospel music has touched so many lives and showcases his talent and spiritual dedication. But now, with his personal life and the revelation about there's a new angle to how we see his legacy. So what do you guys think about Donnie's revelation? Let me know in the comments.